Back to dignity, that's the call of the day. Where purpose hits different and hope finds its way. Investing in people and helping folks win at life. Turning struggle into power, turning pressure into light.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Back to Dignity. We are a news and talk radio or podcast slash vlog channel, and we specialize in talking about those with disabilities. So you got developmental disabilities, we have physical disabilities, we have mental health issues in athletes and non-athletes. And today I want to discuss a very popular Olympic gold medalist. She's probably the all-time winningest medal person, and that's Simone Biles. Back in the day, a few years ago, she was in the Olympics. Well, she was there this year as well, but this past year. But back in the day, we all know that she famously basically quit the Olympic team. I believe it was in Tokyo that year, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it was in Tokyo, where she quit claiming that she had mental health issues. And when I first heard that a few years ago, in my mind, not understanding fully mental health, I looked at it like she quit on her team. She was supposed to go and perform, and she just couldn't handle the pressure, and she just quit. Because typically, at least the way I grew up, you get through the hard times. Tough times don't last. You persevere, you push through, you hammer through. And once you're done, you'll feel, the joy of having, completed the task. You'll reap the rewards of the hard work that you put in. You and your family, your friends will all benefit from all that you have to carry on your shoulders. But I do have to admit, after some time of learning more about mental health and what that really means, I'm starting to understand. Again, I don't have a full understanding, but I'm starting to understand that mental health is not just about pushing and forging your way through something. That is strength of character. I do say that. If you forge and you push your way through hard times, I get that. And it takes mental capacity to do such. In addition to that, mental health is like a social or a mental or an emotional situation that needs to be addressed as well. So now when I hear mental health issues or stress or just emotional being distraught, I do consider, okay, how will this person respond now that they have the stress or they're emotionally, distraught. But take a quick look. I want to show you a video. This is Simone Biles when she was speaking about her mental health issue. Take a look.
Really stressful with this Olympic Games. I think just as a whole, not having an audience, there are a lot of different variables going into it. It's been a long week. It's been a long Olympic process. It's been a long year. So just a lot of different variables, and I think we're just a little bit too stressed out, but we should be out here having fun, and sometimes that's not the case.
So I do agree where she's saying where, a lot of times we put a pressure on, our young athletes. I mean, I even do that myself. I'm a football coach. So, for youth athletes, and again, I'm guilty of that too. Just putting the pressure and the extra stress on kids, and I'm learning that I gotta balance the importance of winning, the importance of executing the play, the importance of proper footwork, and the purpose of tackling and blocking properly, and hitting that type of thing, like tackling properly where people say safe. So I'm learning that I got to balance, the responsibility of the game of football with putting too much pressure on the athletes that I coach and train. But as far as Simone Biles, she said that, this was during COVID. There were no audience out there, nobody cheering them on. She said something about, I think she needed a break or something of that nature. There's no fun Now, fun's a key word. There was no fun involved, so it was stressful and intense. And she does the balance beams, and she does a lot of the floor gymnastics. She's flying up and flipping 3-4 times in the air, and she's fantastic. If you haven't seen her, you should watch. She's spectacular. So the stuff that she does out there as an Olympia, it can be dangerous. Flipping in the air 3-4 times, boom 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 in the air like that, and landing properly with balance. The balance beam, going back and forth on a little whatever 4-inch looking beam, flipping and turning and all this stuff, and whatever else the events are. She's twirling on the little pole, and I don't know what it's called, but she's fabulous with that stuff. So when she said that when she was in the balance beam, it felt awkward or felt off and didn't really have her mental focus to focus on balancing, I get it. At this point, I get it, where your mind has to be sharp and acute to execute what she had to do at a high level, especially at a level of an Olympia. Now, some of this stuff, I'm able to identify with a lot of it now because, the field that I work in, I work in the mental health field. It's more of a developmental disabilities field. But a lot of those with developmental disabilities have some type of mental health issue. Some are bipolar. Some are intellectual disabilities. And we all deal with stress. So when I'm learning that even my staff, my employees who don't have a diagnosed disability as far as like a disability or developmental disability, I'm noticing what I do, at least when staff request days off work, I'm gladly giving them days off work. And that's mainly because I want them to be focused at work. I understand there's life going on outside of the 8 hours that they're on the clock at work, dealing with other people's problems. They have their own too. It could be money problems. It can be relational problems. Some people are getting evicted from their apartments. Some people are losing their car and in a repo, or some people's cars don't function and work. They need new AC or new brakes or new engine, new transmission. Anything happens to these cars, so they carry the extra stress over to work, and not only it can be like a detriment or just a lack of focus at work, but also I want my employees fully engaged when they're at work, right? And again, I'm not looking for 100% engagement because I know most people don't engage in anything 100%, but I need at least 80%. And if I see that I don't get about 80%, I do ask them, what's happening? Do you want to go home for the day? Or sometimes I actually send them home for the day, because I'd rather have them at a full capacity than at a very low, capacity. But getting to the point where, they ask for days off, I gladly give it to them. I just make sure we have other staff to cover their shifts, and me included. I'm there sometimes to help cover shifts too, just to make sure that we're trying to, get and maintain a healthy work environment with our staff and the people that we're serving who have the developmental disabilities. And again, it takes a lot of patience working with, in this healthcare field with, mental health issues. So again, this channel is a channel that's going to, create some awareness. I'm not going to pretend that I'm some expert, because I'm not. I have a passion for helping people, and I happen to be in the helping people business that have a developmental disability, and that goes along with mental health issues. And my job here is to kind of build an awareness, like build some type of partnership, build some type of, like lend a hand. Because typically when we think disabilities, we think of something you can actually see with your eyes. Somebody in a wheelchair, somebody using maybe a cane or walker to help them along the way. Something visible that you can actually see. Someone who has Down syndrome, you can physically see those things. And I notice oftentimes in the community, we don't know how to really interact with them. For example, today I was at a football game. I'm here in Arizona. Arizona Cardinals played the Washington Commanders today. And I noticed sitting in the seat right beside me, there's a man. I'm going to call him a young man, but he was a man, maybe 20, 30 some years old, probably, early 30s. His social skills were wasn't, what was considered normal social skill. So, I noticed when I first, had the first few seconds with them, because they had to get up, him and his father walk down the aisle so they can sit down. And I just kind of noticed his behavior wasn't, what, the society norms are. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, he may have some type of, autism or some type of developmental disability. And again, I didn't judge him. It's just that the fact that I worked with hundreds of those with, some type of disability. But I say all of that to say that I think a lot of people in the community don't know how to interact with them. So all I did was just spoke to the guy, and he wanted to have a long conversation during the football game. But the game redirected, that person on its own. So, some first down, whatever touchdown, he kind of got it back into the football game. But it's nothing to be afraid of. There are people like we all are. You can say hi. You can say, you can talk whatever interests you think they may have. I knew he was a Cardinals fan because of what he had on his attire, So a small conversation, if you wanted to, you can always have a small conversation. And there's nothing to be afraid of just because we have a disability. And then there's a lot of disabilities that you can't see visually. That's the stress. That's more of a mental health issue. Intellectual disability. Some people may be, take a little bit longer to understand something, or just don't have the capability of fully understanding something. So there's disabilities you can't see, like being bipolar or being schizophrenic. You can't really see those things until people act those behaviors out. So again, this is just a channel to help build an awareness. There's going to be a lot more coming. There'll be a lot more interactive or reaction videos once I get a hang of how all of this stuff works, the technology. I like to, build a community that just basically want to learn more and just support, those in the community that have any type of disability. And in the comments, if you can before the comments, if you can subscribe and share to the channel, that'd be fantastic. Also, if you want to leave a comment, I think that'll help me along the way to figure out, okay, what's next on the agenda. Because I can sit here and talk about things all day long. I can talk about the next athlete who had, mentioned some type of, mental disability. You have famous people like Simone Biles. You have people like DeMar DeRozan, who's a basketball player for the Chicago Bulls. I think he plays there right now, but he's from Compton, California, and he's a NBA basketball player that most people would know. He spoke out about his mental disabilities. Michael Phelps, a famous swimmer. I don't know. He got maybe 19 gold medals or whatever. I don't know. I maybe exaggerating, but he got a ton. I think he got the record for swimming gold medal. But Michael Phelps spoke about his. And there's more. There's a tennis player, Osaki, I believe. I think Serena Williams spoke out about something. But again, those are just athletes who spoke out, and we do appreciate those people. But there's also, non-athletes or everyday people that we want to, talk about as well, and just kind of, build the awareness, like I was saying. But again, there's more to come. So stay tuned, like and subscribe, and send a comment at the bottom. Thanks for watching.
Back to dignity, that's the call of the day. Where purpose hits different and hope finds its way. Investing in people and helping folks win at life. Turning struggle into power, turning pressure into light. Pull back the curtain, let the real ones speak. Truth in the stories that we drop each week. From the front line hustle to the heart chat. The backstage podcast is where it's at. When the world gets heavy, come and take your seat. Where the mission is strong and the message is deep. Back to dignity, we're on that path. So step in the circle where the truth feels right. Where the grit meets the grace and the dark finds the light. If you're seeking direction, we can help with that. Yeah, the backstage movement keeps you coming back. Pull back the curtain, let the real ones speak.
Pull back the curtain, let the real ones speak. Truth in the stories that we drop each week. From the front line hustle to the heart chat. The